Hi, salam alaikum. Hi, salam alaikum. Hi, guys. So, today we are talking about ways to disrupt the system. Hi, Kyler Peril. Welcome. I'm so glad to have all of you guys here. What am I doing? I'm ready for you guys. I am looking at our um, Bible verses. I'm looking at our, Holy Quran verses that I'm going to give you in order so you can fast and pray and disrupt the system. I'm going to give you some of the elements that I use in order to disrupt the system and that signal that they send out those narcissist people. You know, uh, yes, praise God. We want to always praise God and give him the utmost, respect and praise. So, let's get into our topic. One of the ways that I'm able to disrupt their signal is, not to get upset and not let them lead on and know that I know that they have been sending a negative frequency out to me. There have been people who have worked for me. There have been people, as a manager, I had people that was working for me in, hotels, restaurants, and they would send out a negative frequency to me. I had one lady that told me, she didn't know how old I was. She just knew that I was her boss, and I could tell that, she didn't like me very much. And she told everybody else around her to call her by her first name. And since I look so young and, I talk like, I'm young, then I need to call her by Miss, whoever she was. And when she found out that I was actually older than her and I was the boss because, I had did business management and all of these things like that, then she was surprised and, she wanted to eat those words. But no, I kept calling her Miss, you know, I kept calling her Miss. And when you do things like that, when you make them eat that negative frequency that they're sending out, then can you have $5? Well, can I have 50 million? Can I have $50 million from you? If that's all you want, you'll definitely, God will definitely bless you with that, Kyla Peril. But these are the type of things that we have to do. I used to go to work. I used to go out to the grocery store, to anywhere that I had to go out in public around people. Um, aiming products. Who are we don't rob people here. So anywhere that I would go out, if I had to go to work, if I had to go around people, um, that didn't like me, then I would anoint myself with certain oils. And one of those oils that I like to use, that I'm going to give you guys, that I used to anoint myself with when I was going to work before I retired, to come and talk to you guys, it's Blockbuster. I had a Blockbuster oil that I would anoint myself with. And, that Blockbuster oil, it sends that negative energy back to them that's sending out that negative signal. And I love thank you so much, Amy Products 12. I love you guys too. I love you so much. And I appreciate all of your support. You always want to, protect yourself from people, because you never know what kind of, negative frequency they're sending out to you. I've had many bosses who, they were upset with me because they wanted to pay me lesser, and every time they would approach me with that that deal, that so-called deal that they were going to give me, to take lesser pay, I would just hand in my paperwork. I would hand in my tag. I was getting up out of there. I was never concerned about money, because I know that God is always blessing, and I know that those people who are sending out that negative frequency, they are the greedy ones. She anointed herself with snacks. Well, Roscoe, I wish I did have some snacks. I wish I had some Fig Newton cookies, but I ate all of them up. So I did anoint my mouth with them before I came on here with you guys. But I don't know how you knew that, but you're right. So and these are some of the elements that we are going to use to disrupt their signal. And it's a couple of times they like to send out a negative signal to you. When you have more money than they have, when your gifts and you shine, and they can see your shine, and they want to take that from you. One of the ways that I like to make sure that I disrupt their signal, by using my Blockbuster oil. And I use my Blockbuster oil, and I use when I was in my own house, I use my red brick dust, in order to make sure that it wasn't going to harm anyone. It wasn't going to harm them, but whatever they were sending out to me, that negative signal, it would stay with them. It would go back with them. They would not be able to release that negative frequency. And what I like to do, and I have different ways that I make that red brick dust. What I like to do is spread it over my threshold. So, you always have those people that want to come visit you on Monday. You have those people that want to come visit you just before the holidays, to dump off that negative frequency, in your house onto you. So, I make that red brick dust, so you don't have to use what they have online, in order to attack somebody with, the gopher dust, or whatever. That is a progressive dust that's meant for the colonizer. That's not meant for, that's not meant for our people. So again, if you haven't attacked the colonizer with the gopher dust, you shouldn't be attacking your brothers and sisters with the gopher dust. You only want to, defend yourself. You don't want to harm somebody with something that is progressive, and harmful, unaliving, like the gopher does. And anybody that uses that recipe online, everybody that I know of that has used it got unalived, in their early 50s, 51. They were unalived early in life. So, that's why God has given us a different means to defend ourselves. You don't want to, the first thing that you think about is unaliving somebody. That's for the colonizer. That's not for our people. We don't think like that. What we think about is, you're going to keep that entity that you're trying to, make me have confusion and chaos in my home, and take the peace away from me. You're going to have that in your home. It's not going to be able to shed off of you and attach itself to me in my household, to my children, to my finances. It came in here with you, it's going back out with you, because, you can't step in a purified, in a anointed and purified place. You cannot, purify your vessel. Once they step over that, red brick dust, the way that I have it set up, that negative energy has to go back with them. So, one of the ways that they try to attack is, during the holidays. And I've said this before, and this is why a lot of people reach out to me around the holidays, especially on Halloween. We want to be able to cleanse ourselves of that negative energy, that they are trying to hire and attach, evil spirits, malevolent spirits. That's what Halloween is about. That's what it has always been about, the worship of the dead. So if you're worshiping the dead, on that day, then, you have people that's going to graveyards that's trying to hire spirits on that day to attack people that they dislike, so that they can send out those negative frequencies. So that is why we're not celebrating any of their holidays. We're cleansing ourselves on those holidays. We're cleansing ourselves on, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all of those holidays, Halloween, because those are the times that they have used their negative energy, in the past, to harm our people. Hello. I don't know. I don't know where you're from. That looks like it's Russian. It's written in Russian, but I'm glad to have you here. Please hit the like button, guys. Walaikum assalam, 8 Speed. So, if we are not going to celebrate these holidays, then we need to be cleansing ourselves. We need to be using what God has given us to cleanse ourselves. And like I say, since all of the herbs are in the 4 thieves vinegar, and I hope that a lot of you are making your 4 thieves vinegar now. You can cleanse yourself with that. You can cleanse your space with that. You can, sprinkle it. It will also get rid of the negative energy that people are trying to bring to your house, to send negative spirits to, attack you with hired spirits. So you can cleanse your environment with, the 4 thieves vinegar. I added this extra layer of protection because, I had a lot of brothers and sisters asking me, that people were trying to, kill, steal, and destroy their peace during the holidays, and they wanted that extra layer of protection. And I was just thinking about it, that we don't want to take, and I don't want you to use what's online, and there's a better way than to use something that's online. And what I've given you is the cleansing waters that you can cleanse your environment. Those negative people, those family members that want, your car to break down during the holidays. Those negative, brothers and sisters, the neighbors that want, saying you won't be able to find your luggage at the airport and you have to turn around and come back home. Those people who want to ruin your holiday, So you can make sure that, you can use the red brick dust that I made for you for the outside, and you can use the 4 thieves vinegar for the inside, for purifying and cleansing your body and the environment. And I especially like to make sure that, we're cleansing this negative energy on these holidays like Halloween and Thanksgiving, because those were the times that, they were doing most of their sacrifices, and trying to, higher spirits to send negative energy, not only to, your finances, not only to your health, but also to sacrifice your children on Christmas. So, we want to make sure that we're protecting our. And I have, the and look at that. Somebody want to call me? No, they're not. Get away from me. Um, the I like to use Surah Null, and that's the B. That's the B in the Holy Quran, in order to, pray over your property, pray over your house. When you're purifying your environment, when you purified your body, I like to use Anal, the B, because it gives you an overall understanding that, God is the sustainer and protector of everything. He gives you everything, from the heavens to the earth. So that's why I like to use that particular, surah, in order to purify my surroundings. I like to use that, when I'm anointing myself, and a lot of times, we need to be able to have an understanding why, we need to make sure that we are praying over our house, especially during the time of the holidays, especially during the time when people, don't have the best intentions. It's supposed to be the holidays where we're coming together, but at this point, I got about 10 to 15 orders where people have asked me to send them a cleansing gift, in accordance with what they're going through in their life. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people won't be able to go on holiday. So, we want to make sure that we're praying for those people. Now, I'm going to give you the some of the things that you'll be able to see in your life once you cleanse your negative energy and from these signals that these people are sending out to you with the evil eye, with any kind of death spells, any kind of spells that they're sending to, your finances or your health. So, when they're crossing over into your environment, let's say that you've invited them for some kind of gathering, and they cross over into your environment and it's been purified, from the negative energy, that negative signal that they're sending out has to stay with them. It is not, those spirits are not able to come out of them in your presence, in your house, and attack you. You're going to see them, trying to get up and leave. You're going to see them, make any excuse to get up and leave in a hurry. You'll see them start coughing. You'll see them start sneezing. When that negative energy wasn't able to come in outside in your house, it wasn't able to attack you. So this is how we discern that negative frequency. Some of the things that you might see on your job is that they'll start a lot of chaos. They'll try to get you fired. In community, they'll start trying to, the smear campaign, talk about you. In your house, they'll start, belittling you, talking about you, because that negative signal that they were sending out to harm you, to harm your finances, or whatever it is they dislike about you, it had to stay in them. They can't cause any drama. They can't upset matters for you. So the only thing that they're going to do is they're going to become very angry with you when they can't dump that negative higher spirit off on you. So, now that we're cleansing that, now that we have our blockbuster, and I make my own blockbuster oil, so that negative energy, any blockages they're trying to send to my finances, they're trying to send to my health, I make sure that I put, that oil on me, on my head, I anoint my head, my chest, my ankles, my wrist, and I anoint the back of me, when I'm purifying myself, you know, um, because it's very important that you do so when you're dealing with these people who are sending out these negative signals, and you want to make sure that you're catching these signals before they move forward into your life to create destruction and chaos and problems in your life. These are some of the ways that I like to use it. Sometimes, like I say, for our full moon cleanse, I'm gonna use the golden rod. I'm gonna use the golden rod oil in order to anoint myself, in order to bring in the goodness and push out that negative energy. I'm going to use it on my incense. I'm going to use it on my body so that, nothing is able to attack me, you know, that they want, that frequency that they want to stay with me, to put me in fear. Like I say, I have, family members that is sending out negative frequencies to me right now. So, when I cleanse myself of that negative frequency that they're sending out, where, they just sit up and watch you, they don't say anything, they're infuriated, that you moved away from them, you didn't take them with you. And what we have to do is continue to pray. So one of the ways that I like to do this, and this goes for, Christians too, I want you to read, Surah An-Nahl, and that's the B in the Holy Quran. And you will understand when you read the B in the Holy Quran that it is a protection from people who are trying to send out negative frequencies, who are trying to attach higher spirits to you. I also like to read, and I can't even hardly say it, but I'm going to try to say it. Ashura, I think I said it right. Ashura, and correct me, but it's the poets in the Holy Quran. So, that's two of the ones that I would like for you guys to read when you're purifying your environment, from people sending out negative frequencies and signals. There have been people that have called me this week, and the week just started, about, people trying to send out negative frequencies to their marriage. One of the young ladies said that, her husband was married to another young lady, and, him and her, they're engaged now. And, the other young lady that they were married to, that he was married to, is sending out negative frequencies to their relationship. So, the one thing that we want to understand, when a person is trying to attack you, and you pick up on that energy, you know who it is coming from. You know that you don't have any enemies, even if it's in your family, and you pick up on that energy. The thing for me has been, I don't want to, harm the person. I just want them to stop attacking me. So these are some of the ways that I give you to make people stop attacking you, in order to force that negative energy that they're sending out. Whatever they give you, it goes back to them. HB, the holidays are the darkest. Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to you. And this is why people are getting in touch with me, so that they can cleanse that negative energy, because people get envious and jealous, when you can afford things, especially now that they can't afford. Okay, so make sure that you're cleansing yourself. Make sure that you're cleansing your environment. Especially if you live in houses and things. I would have never believed that I would have had to cleanse my property in the haberdashery from people, from my neighbors. I would have never thought in a million years that my neighbors would be so bold and emboldened in order to, walk backwards around my trailer. So, when you use this type of, red brick dust, it doesn't, harm the person to unalive them, but it sends whatever negative energy that they had for you back to them. You never want to try to, have in your heart, the disease in order to, attack somebody in that way. You leave that to the narcissist. You leave that to the negative people. We can pray against them and purify ourselves and our environment, and that negative energy is going to be locked in their hearts. It's going to be locked where they're at. If they wanted you to be stagnant, they're going to be stagnant. If they wanted your relationship to break, their relationship going to break. If they wanted, your holiday to be miserable and terrible, their holiday is going to be miserable and terrible. So, we want to always remember that when we are purifying our environment to make sure that negative signal goes back to them, you want to make sure that you remember your children as well, because people, are sick nowadays. They will attack your children. Okay, so we never want to make sure, we never want to miss the children when we're purifying. We want to make sure that, we anoint them. And if their skin is sensitive because they're kids, remember that, some of the oils that I use, they're harsh. So you want to make sure you do a carrier oil, the olive oil, and anoint them and make sure that they are protected as well from people's attacks. People will try to send that negative frequency at your children because they're vulnerable when they cannot attack you. So, I just wanted to make sure that you understand that. And, if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me in my description on this live, in the description, and you can reach out to me and, book your consultations with me. So I got time for one more story for you guys. So, when I, took on the building where my father lives, when I took on the building, there were people who would, stand right outside my father's door because they were mad because I had sent them, to HUD, and they had to fix the building. They had standing water. Yeah, hell of days. They had standing water in my father's building, where the elderly people were just sliding around. They were sliding into the elevators, standing water in the laundry room. And so when I, petitioned the building and I made them fix it, so you had people who worked in the office would just come out and stand in front of my father's apartment, and just be loud and act crazy. But I tell you what, they were gang stalking me, excuse me. And so when I would go to the door, they would give me that, roll their eyes look. But I tell you what, when I used that, red brick dust, they wasn't able to gang stalk me no more. They got their behind down there in their office and stopped trying to make me and my father miserable until, until the last day that I was leaving. They stayed away from me. So these are some of the ways that, you'll understand. And let me say, add one more thing to that. The lady, the next day that she came up there, trying to stand in front of my dad's door and be loud and hold a conversation from the 10th floor all the way down on the 3rd floor, and, I hate those alley women, and I hate to hate anybody, but I don't like those alley women. So, she was screaming all the way from the 10th floor to the 3rd floor. And she just started coughing and broke out with coughing and sneezing. And she got her behind off of me in front of my father's door. So, these are some of the things that we'll have to cleanse our environment outside and inside from negative people who want to send negativity to us, who's trying to send it through the evil eye, who's trying to send it any way that they can attack us because they don't like our light. They don't like our gifts. And they definitely don't like you to defend children and elderly, when you carry that kind of light in you. So, I just wanted to give you guys that kind of understanding to protect yourself during the holidays, purify, your environment, purify your outside and the inside, Make sure that you're anointing yourselves. Make sure that all of you are reading Surah An-Nahl. That's the beat in the Holy Quran. You want to read Surah Ashura. That's the poet in the Holy Quran. And that'll help you purify and protect yourself. And that goes for Christians and Muslims. I hope that you receive my message. I hope that, you guys continue to support me. Like, share, and subscribe over all of my platforms. I really appreciate you. Book your one-on-one sessions, consultations. That's the quickest way to get in touch with me. You can book your live sessions with me, or you can book your life coaching sessions. I'm High Oracle, Reiki spiritual healer. Assalamu alaikum.